Hello and welcome to Mindset Mondays episode, or so Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is episode number 134. It's an ongoing series of live broadcasts designed for folks with a growth mindset or those who'd like to create one. This is a place for folks who are focused on getting better at being who they are at their core, rather than being distracted merely by getting better at doing what they do. Hey, take a moment just before we get started and click the share button beneath your video. The more voices we have in the conversation, the richer the chat. Okay, wow. So I want to go back a couple of years. Um, had a client who was wrestling with self acceptance. And one of the challenges that I threw was super uncomfortable for them because the issue they came with was about wanting to address acceptance of them by other people. But the underlying issue was self acceptance. So the challenge was to stand in front of a mirror naked for half an hour with their eyes open. And they were kind of pissed. And I did it because it was an opportunity for them to be unfiltered, uncluttered, unfettered with themselves. And it wasn't about seeing their body, as it turns out when they finally did the exercise, it was just staying eye to eye. It wasn't about anything other than the symbolism of just them, uncluttered. The purpose for the challenge was really captured beautifully by the James Baldwin quote that I want to play with today. And that's this: not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Now, we have become, as a species of animals, we've become exquisitely talented at turning away from things that we'd rather not face. We're the only ones in the animal kingdom that can do that. That's a luxury and a safety that modern society affords us. I mean, well, call it privilege or call it luxury, it doesn't matter. The ability to turn away from things that we don't want to address is not something that is afforded any other creature on earth. But it doesn't really serve us, short term, long term. It doesn't serve us. Part of what's happening now, culturally and politically, is because we have chosen to turn away from things instead of face them. But again, nothing can be changed until it is faced. In college, let's just say I experimented with drugs, and my experiments became rather intense. And I didn't want to acknowledge that it had gotten out of hand. I didn't. And then one morning at about 5 o'clock in the morning, on a Sunday morning, while still being at the Sigma Chi house at the University of Pennsylvania, I caught my reflection in a mirror. Man, it was hard to ignore what I was facing. Because again, not everything that can be faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And I left the Sigma Chi house at 5 in the morning. And I went to the Philadelphia airport in what I was wearing. And I flew back home to Atlanta. I withdrew from all my classes that spring semester of my junior year. And I spent the next stretch of time drying out, cleaning up, cleaning out my system and getting off all of the crap that I had been poisoning myself with. And this isn't a rant about don't do drugs. This is the point that I didn't face my addiction. I didn't face my dependency. I didn't face my problem until 5 a.m. that April morning in Philadelphia. And nothing was going to change it until I faced it. This is not what I was going to talk about today. But nothing was going to change until I faced it. What's going on culturally and politically right now in this country is the same idea that where the things that are not being changed are the things that we haven't been facing. And now that they are being faced, at least to some degree, there is cultural upheaval. There is a need to address it. And every cultural shift that you see in the history of any country, no, in politically and culturally in any country, presently or in history, is started by facing it. Once the system is reflected back to itself, so is presented the opportunity for change. People were blown away by the Arab Spring and the cascade of shift it started across the Middle East. And as soon as the system was reflected back to itself, that started with social media, a wave of social media activism. When the system was reflected back to itself, the people rose and things changed. What are the things you're not facing? There's a 40-second video on my website. It's a video of Eric Schmidt, who was then the chairman and CEO of Google. And he said something. He said, people are not very good at seeing how others see them, how they show up to the world. Coaches are really good at reflecting that back. But it doesn't take a coach, although obviously I think it should always take a coach. But it doesn't take a coach. It takes the opportunity to reflect, to stand naked in front of your mirror, metaphorically or physically, to look objectively with that sober assessment at what is your system, what's there, what is it that wants to be addressed, what is it that wants to be changed, what is it that you haven't been facing. Because not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. What is it that wants to be faced? What is it that's in your system that once reflected back, you can no longer choose not to see? There is such opportunity in taking that moment to reflect. The first step in the Rewire framework, the core element of the Mindset Mondays book, is reflect. For that very purpose, just the act of sitting quietly, sitting still, and reflecting. It's the opportunity to see what surfaces, the opportunity to see what's there, the opportunity to face what hasn't been faced before. Whether we like what's happening in this country or around the world right now or not, the danger is not in dealing with the cultural issues. The danger is choosing not to face them. The danger is choosing not to face them. Call it privilege, call it luxury. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's an ability that we are the only animal on this planet that has that ability to choose not to see that which makes us uncomfortable. Well, tough noogies. Just because we have the ability doesn't mean we should avail ourselves of it, because it's dangerous. Our ancestors, when they chose not to see a danger, those were most often life-threatening dangers, chose not to see the predator, they died. We're no longer living in that kind of constant threat of wild predators. Other humans are the risk. When we choose not to see something that makes us uncomfortable, we put ourselves at danger. Emotional, physical, psychological, cultural. So this is that opportunity. What is it this week that wants to be faced? What is it that you haven't been playing with? David says, sometimes I think this question about what are we not facing is an ongoing lifelong endeavor of peeling the onion of myself layer after layer. Yeah, nice touch, including the tears. David, yes, because each time we peel off a layer of something we've chosen not to see, oh my God, there's something else and something else and something else. What's underneath all those fabulous layers? That's the exercise. That magnificent essence, that unfiltered, unfettered, uncluttered self, that who one be is at their core. How glorious that will be when all the layers are peeled off and only essence is left. It's amazing. Through our through our 20s and teens and 20s and 30s, as we learn more of what culture expects from us, expects. We layer on more and more layers of crap. And then somewhere in our 40s or 50s, if we're lucky, we start peeling those layers back off. Yes, another conversation to play with what's wrong with our education and acculturation processes that we allow ourselves to be layered with that crap. We'll save that one for another one. This is about how do we address what's there. Marcella says, when I dodge and do not face, I feel in my head and back. There's bigger every day that it hurts physically until I take it out. Yeah, there's, what's your tell? Where do you feel it in your body when you realize you're avoiding something? Yeah, for me, that's a visceral one. That's all stomach. That's that's that gut wrenching crunch that you don't want to do that doubles you over. So maybe that's the experiment, is play with that challenge. Spend the half hour standing in front of your full length mirror, just you, just you. And see what's reflected back. The vulnerability is the metaphor. The vulnerability is the opportunity. It's not about the nudity. It's about the uncluttered access to you. It's uncomfortable. Do it anyway. See what's reflected back. See what surfaces. See what it is that it's time for you to face. Because not everything that is faced can be changed, but oh my God, nothing can be changed until it's faced. And so, yes, Charlotte, maybe this is the time that you need to hear this. I'm glad you're here for this episode then. 30 minutes isn't that long. It's getting past the first one or two that's hard. Play with it. And share the comments back in the Facebook group. I'd love to hear how this lands for you and what surfaces. The private Facebook group is at facebook.com/groups/mindset Mondays. Join the conversation there. Thanks for coming today. And as I ask every week, what mindset will you choose?